Peace. Welcome to another session with the Creative Liberation Network, CLN Clan. I'm Amani Will, aka Wa'ama Underlying Truth, aka Black Hole, the Greater Bliss, aka Timing. I want to talk to you today about time. Does anybody know what time it is?
Hello? What time is
Depends on who you ask and what time you're asking about, right? I'm asking my legendary hero fools with superhuman and superhuman powers. I'm asking my ancient futuristic natives of consciousness. I'm asking my visionary dreamers, my feeler healers, my builder organizers, and my alchemist artivists. What time is it?
What time is it?
I imagine that's one way that you often spend your time is telling and showing fools what time it is. And that's one of the reasons I want to have this conversation, because this is a precious time, as always, and perhaps especially right now. And I want us to get especially clear about our relationships to time and about what we want to have within the time that we have, so we can really live in what time it is for each of us right now.
What time is it?
So as we explore time together, I really want to invite us all to be with our somatic experience in our bodies, to notice our emotions, to notice the inspirations, the ideas that come, to notice the different orientations that we move through as we're exploring different ways of being in relationship with time. So let's start with some basics. What is time? Let's pause here and you answer for yourself. Welcome back. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave some comments and tell us, teach us, expand our minds. For you, what is time? I want us to deconstruct some of the mainstream power paradigms of time. I started with Google. Google sent me to Webster, Merriam Wiki, and they said something like the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. So first, what's it like to experience time as a sequential, linear, forward-moving, directional progress of existence and events, of experience and happenings? How much of your experience of your existence is connected to the cultural meme that we are moving forward into better, and that moving further away from where we have been and what has been is improvement? How much does the infinite growth model of our economic systems, bigger, better, more, more, affect your experience, your satisfaction levels, your values of yourself and the world around you and your relations? What's it like to experience past, present, and future as a whole? We have these senses of ourselves that are very connected to who we have been. And who we have been very much affects who we will be. And there are some ways that in this society we have a very short-term memory and we forget uh, a lot of where we've been before and a lot of who we have been, and part of that has been through intentional erasure as we get swallowed by a machine and integrated into a workforce and into a new culture through the processes of colonization over the last 2,500 years. How do you feel that in your relationship to time? Leave some comments about that too, please. There's a lot of ways in which that amnesia is really costly. And there are also ways in which we spend a lot of time holding on to the past because we haven't grieved thoroughly, properly, collectively, because we haven't learned and changed suffering into wisdom. And so there's a lot of ways in which we're carrying around our past, and this past that has caused a lot of pain is preventing us from shifting into a future with more wisdom, with more agency, with more health relative to that pain in the past. My legendary hero fools. How do we live in honor of the cyclical nature of being in this ancient future now, while making fools of ourselves, calling on beginner's mind, child's mind, the innocence and earnestness of newness, so that we are not recreating from the same thinking that created the problem, and so that we are living into new possibilities while uncovering the essence and the ancient wisdom that lives in that beginner's mind.
What time is it?
What's contained in time? What's beyond time? How do we experience each? How do we experience both? We co-create our lives. We are creations being created while co-creating. May our relationship to time, may our relationship to ourselves and each other and our world be an art. May it be a work of art. May we be works of art. As fools, we gotta march to our own drummer. We gotta follow our own timing. We gotta feel our own rhythm and surrender to how that syncs up to the multiverse we belong to. So if you're making a fool with us, you're making a fool of yourself, or you're here for any other reason, I want to share with you something that we're doing in this process to find our own time and to reconnect with an ancient future. I want you to find an ancestral calendar or an ancestral way of relating with time, and to follow it while you make your fool, to follow it for long enough that you can really get it in your body, that you can really feel the orientation, the posture, the pose, the shift. From Roman tax calendar, from time is money, to time is art, to 7 generations forward and 7 generations back, to I'm in my own time. So check this one out. This is from my Anuyunwiwa peoples, the people of my father's father's line. Very similar to the Azteca calendar. This is a 29,000 year cyclical calendar. So I just want you to imagine, feel in your body right now, what it would be like to live in a world where your experience of time is not that of a sequential forward moving calendar that starts at the beginning of agriculture and empire and monotheism and monopoly, that follows a deified activist who was a brown man who got turned into a white man who made the justification of God being a white man, and your relationship to time being connected to all of those things, where there's an inherent end and apocalypse. Now, I want you to imagine that you're living in a world, in a body, in a community that's designed around a 29,000 year cyclical calendar that just keeps going. No beginning, no end. It just goes around and around and around, 29,000 years. And your experience of time, what's it like for it to extend and expand 29,000 years around, way before you, way after you? What's that feel like in your body? No beginning, no end, 29,000 year scope of what this moment is a part of. And now imagine that 29,000 year calendar is broken down even more into 25 segments that contain about 1,200 years in them each. So something smaller, something closer to your lifetime, 1,200 years, and there's 25 of those that fit into that 29,000 years. It's all rough math. 1,200 years, that's a little bit closer. What's it like to imagine 1,000 years plus 200? And that's one world. 25 of them go into the whole cycle, which creates the era. Now imagine that 1,200 years is broken down into 22 periods of 52 years each. So you could live about 2 of those. And each of those breaks down into 9 52-year periods of hell realm and 13 52-year periods of heaven realm. And so you're living in this cycle where you know that you're about to move through some hell. And you know that inherently, after and before that hell exists heaven. And so anytime you're experiencing hell, you're experiencing a time, a period, a cycle of hardship. You can experience it as a time of fortification, of growth, of strength. And you know that you're about to move into a period of heaven where that fortification, that strength, that growth is going to blossom into the experience of deep alignment and deep connection and deep harmony. And you know while you're in that period of heaven that you also headed back, because it's going to be time to learn again to head through the hell realms. And so you don't get too attached to that heaven realm, and you also can maybe experience the benefit of the hell in the heaven realm. And so you're not afraid of moving into the hell realm, because you know that's going to make the next heaven realm even better. And just feel in your body, in your imagination, in your life, what it would be like to live in that time. And maybe we take it a little bit closer, something that's a little more universal around the world. I want you to see if you can see the moon right now. Is this a time when you can see the moon in the sky? Many of our peoples around the world have calendars based on the moon, the Islamic calendar, the Judaic calendar, the Chinese calendars, the main ones that I know of. I know there's probably many in each of those places. Moon calendars all over the world. Here we're looking at the Gaelic, the Celtic calendar. Those are some of my peoples as well. So, Grandmother Moon, for my Anuyunwiwa people, Grandmother is the protector of the earth. Imagine basing your time on this body, this glowing body in the sky that perhaps is a grandmother, that perhaps is a protector, that perhaps is a deity. And you see them grow and shrink, expand and contract over and over again. All the time you're watching them continually cycle through different shapes and sizes and stages and phases, and you watch the waters be affected by that, the oceans be affected by that, women's bodies being affected by that, and their cycles that bring life for all the people. The men's cycles, if we're paying attention, most likely too. Imagine your sense of time being deeply connected to the body of the moon, the stages and the cycles of the moon. Many of you, I imagine, already have some relationship to the moon like this. Imagine if this was your primary sense of, organizer of, relationship with time. I am also working with the Kojora calendar, which is a Yoruba West African calendar, and it's a 4-day week. These 4 days follow principles of Orishas. Imagine that today is day 1, it's the day of Obatala. So today is like the Creator's day. Before there was form, this is the divine spark, this is the consciousness that creates everything, and that's your first day. And the Agungun, that's your ancestors. The Ayami, those are the healers, the witches. And so you've got the divine, and the divine as they live in the ancestors, those who no longer have body, and the divine as they live in the healers, the witches, those who are in touch with the healing energy, the magic of the worlds beyond. Your day 2, your next day is with Orunmila. They call Orunmila the witnesser of destiny and the inspiration that lives within the awakened human being. So those of us who are on a path of awakening, who are calling out for divine inspiration, that inspiration comes through Orunmila. And this is the day of Eshu, the one who manages the crossroads, who you have to call on to talk to any other Orisha, to open any door, to work any magic. And so you go from the divine creation principle into the inspiration as it lives in the beginnings of form after going through the crossroads from the spirit realm into the physical realm. And then pour in Oshun and Iamoja and the waters of life. And then you've got Ogun and Ochosi. You've got these hunters and the deities of building, of metallurgy, of the creating of our human worlds. That's your day 3, and day 4 is Chango and Oya, which is a day of destruction, the tower and the tarot, the day of clearing, harvesting. So we could also look at this as what we work with in the first move and with CLN. Day 1 is connection. Day 2 is engagement. Day 3 is integration, and day 4 is harvest. What's it feel like in your body to imagine a 4-day week rather than 7? Just 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. A much smaller cycle that you move through from beginning to end to beginning again. And to have each of those days be guided by such clear principles that connect to the divine forces that create your life. I'm going to give you just one more. I'm also tracking an 11 million year evolutionary process. So somebody told me about the Imperial Sciences narrative of the way that whales came to be. And the story is they at first were, a marine dinosaur, and after a couple million years, they climbed up onto shore, evolved into something that was like a hippo dog. And then after a couple more million years, as the sea levels rose, a part of them branched off and went back to the waters. And over the next few million years, total of an 11 million year process from when they came onto shore to when they went back into the ocean and became what we know now as whales. What's it like to imagine even bigger, way bigger than our 29,000 year cycle, a transformational process of 11 million years? And what's it like to seed each day an 11 million year evolution in which the Earth most likely looks completely different? You as a species is a completely different species. What's it like to let go of our humanness and of this world so deeply? So, the invitation is for you to find an ancestral way of being with time. Connect to one of your people's, your lineage's calendars, or one of your lineages, if you can't find a specific calendar, a way of relating to time. And sit in it for long enough to get that time signature in your body and in your life. Follow that timing and see what happens. Put it in your food, in the representation of who you are as a superhero, legendary, superhuman fool on the fool's journey of restoring the multiverse. Thank you for your precious time.
Whisper in my ear, what do you come to show us when we bring you here? What does the future want with us? What do the people need? Will you come and walk with us while we plant your seed? This is for my great, 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 great grandchildren. Show us the way, way through our own healing. This is for my great